So here I am in my folder. So in the folder, I have index.html file and the style.css file. Now there are some stuff that are added in the style.css. So for the text that we're gonna add later, I've already added the font family as bricolage grotesque. And then I've added some styling to the loading container, which we're going to be defining in a bit in the HTML. And then also in the body, I've set the font family to Inter. So both of these fonts are Google fonts. So when you download the source code, obviously in the style.css file, you'd get the import link. Now, so we're going to get started in the HTML. So here first, we're going to define the container. So we're going to call it loading container. And inside of this, we're gonna have the loading screen. Now the loading screen would have a progress bar that I've shown you in the demo. And then after that, we're gonna have the numbers. Now the numbers are divided into three parts. Now since there are 3 digits, so we're gonna have 3 separate divs. So first one is the number 1 with number 1 class. The second one is number 2, and then the third one is number 3. Now you might ask, why do we need 3 divs? Because if you look at the original awards page, I'll just show you. So hold on. Yeah, so here if you see, if I refresh, you see that we have 2 digits shown, but then this third one appears out of nowhere from bottom. So we need 3 separate divs, and then the first one would hold the number 1, which till the end won't be visible, but only after the other 2 digits reach 0, only then we're gonna pull up the text or the span number 1. So here inside of these 3, so since we need 3 separate digits, so we have 3 separate divs. We also need the div for the percentage, so I'd add that. And then inside of these, I'll just add a number wrap div. Now this number wrap div would, for the first one, would only have span 1, because the first div or the first digit would only be 1 and nothing else. But then the other 2 can be any digit starting from 1 to 0. So we're gonna have it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we're gonna have 0. So this is for the digit 2, and then also for the third one, we'll do the same. So let's save and let's see. So as you can see, this is how it looks. Add a bit of CSS to it. So we're gonna target the numbers, and then the numbers needs to be flex, align items to center, and then we're gonna have a fixed height of the numbers, so that when we kind of like roll the numbers, we only want one specific number to be shown, and we want them to be position absolute, bottom 5%, left 5%, and overflow to hidden. Let's save, and all right, so they're positioned here. Now let's target the number. Now each individual number would have a height of 80 pixel, overflow to hidden. Let's save, and now as you can see, so I need to increase the font size as well. Now we're gonna target the number wrap, and the number wrap for the number 1, which is basically the 1 that we see in the 100. So that initially would be out of the screen, so we want it to be translate Y to 100%, and when we save, now as you can see, this is beneath. Now we're going to target the number wrap. We're going to add display flex direction to column, since we want the number not as a row, but since we want individual digits to kind of roll, so we want them to be stacking on top of each other. So we'd have flex direction to column. Now here, this might be a new property that you might have seen in the channel, which is will change transform. This just lets the browser know which property is likely to change. So in this case, the transform property. After that is done, we're going to target the span inside of the number wrap, and we're going to give it a height, a line height, and also a font size. Let's save, and now as you can see, only 2 digits are shown. Now all the other digits are visible, but they're basically out of the numbers box. Since we have overflow to hidden, those are not getting shown. Let's also change the font weight, so we'd have the font weight as bold. Looks good. Now let's target the percentage, and would want the icon to have a font size of 30 pixels. Font family of serif, sans serif. I wonder why do we have that? I just have to remove that later. So, and then margin left of 4 pixels. All right, let's give align self to start. And then now comes the tricky part. Since we have 10 digits, so we'd have the height of the number wrap as 80 times 10, which is 800 pixels. And then using JavaScript would basically be translating that specific amount of pixels from top to bottom. We'd target the number wrap. Now, since the number 1 div for the 100, the first digit only has one digit in it, so we just have the height as 80 pixel. But since digit 2 and digit 3 have 10 of those, so we'd have the height as 800. All right, now in the script tag, what we're gonna do is first we want to see if the DOM content is loaded. Now if this is loaded, only then we want to start our animation. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna create a GSAP timeline, and then we're gonna set a speed for the animation. Now here the speed is 1.2. You can basically change it to whatever you want. And then if you look at the original awards page, so you would see that, let's refresh, you'd see that the percentage is basically in 2 steps. First is 35, then it's 57, and then it's 100. Let's refresh. It's 21, 58, and 100. So basically the odometer effect or the transition of the numbers basically happening in 2 phases. So for the first phase, what we want to do is we want to pick a random number for the second digit, since remember the first digit is 1, which will always be 1. So for the second digit, we want to show from 2, 3, 4, from this array of 3 numbers, pick any one. And then for the third digit, would want to pick any one from 1 and 5. And then for the second phase, which was 57 in the example, so for the second phase, the second digit would be 5 or 6. So this is going to be random, so it's going to pick any one of those. And then the third digit for the second phase would be any one out of 7, 8, or 9. So this is going to make it random. So now we're going to loop through this array. So we're gonna have the for each, and then this for each would map for each individual object here in the array. So we're basically taking here the object with n2 and n3, defining this n2 here and then n3 here for each run, and then we'd also take the index. Now what we want to do is we want to first select the second random digit. So we're going to just call a variable named second digit, and using gsap.utils.random, it picks a random number from an array. So from this array, it's going to pick a random number, 2, 3, or 4, any one. And then would also need to pick another random number for the third digit. So for the third digit, from 1 or 5, it's going to pick any one. So this is going to happen for the first run. Since we have 2 objects, so this loop would run twice. So for the first run, it can pick any number, let's just say 3 for the second digit and 1 for the third digit. And then for the second run, it can pick anything for the second digit from 5 or 6. So let's just say it picks 6. And then for the third digit, it can pick 7, 8, or 9, any one, let's just say 9. So overall, the step would be, it would start off animating and it's going to show the number, let's just say 31 for the first step, and then for the second step it's going to show something like 69, and then after this is done, we're going to show the 100. Now before moving to the next step, I just wanted to show you how the animation would actually be. So what we want to do is basically, let's just say instead of showing 11%, I want to show 31%. So for that, what we have to do is we just have to, let's just say I target the second one, and instead of showing 1, I want to show there the digit 3. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to start typing transform translate y, and so initially everything is 0. So if I want to show the third digit, so what I have to do is I have to translate it by 160. Since the first one is 0, the second one would be 80, and the third one would be 80 times 2, which is 160. So let's just add here minus 160 pixels. Let's save. Let's see. You now see 31. Let's change it to 80 pixels. Now it's the second one. Let's add 240. This should be the fourth one. You can just keep playing with this. Using the same concept, we're going to start the timeline and we're going to target the second div or the second digit. And then what we want to do is we're going to give it a speed, the duration. And then we have the Y%. So instead of having 240 pixels for the third one, fourth one, and so on, we could just specify here the percentage that we want to translate. So we have a random number here for the second digit. So the random number would give us, so let's just say we have it 3. So we want to show the third digit. So remember how the translate worked. So for the first one, it starts with 0, but then the second one starts with a different value, 80, and then the third one is 160. So basically the indexing starts with 0. So what we want to do is we want to subtract 1 from the second digit, and then we want to multiply that with -10. So this is going to give us the actual percentage of the random value that we want to translate to for the second digit. After that is done, we want to have this angle bracket symbol. Now what does this do? So this basically means that if there is any previous animation, so just run me after that ends. Now if there are no previous animation, this would run anyways. Now you might ask me, so we don't have any previous animation. This is the first animation that we're doing. So why do we have this? So when the loop runs, for the first time, this is gonna be the first animation, but then when the loop runs for the second phase, would obviously be already have one animation. So this won't be the first animation anymore. So we want this to trigger only after that ends. So there's that. So we have the first step ready for the number 2. Now we're gonna animate the third digit. So to animate the third digit, would target the timeline again. This time we target number 3. We set the duration, Y%. This time we take the random value for the third digit, would subtract by 1 and multiply it by -10. Let's save and let's see. You see? We have 2 separate steps. Let's refresh again. Looks good. Now after these steps are over, what we want to do is we want to show for both number 2 and number 3, we want to show the digit 0. So the digit 0 is basically at the end. So since the indexing starts from 0, we can't have it 100%, so we'd have it 90%. So what we want to do after this ends, so here again we want to add this icon, angle bracket or less than sign. What this does is basically this starts as soon as or along with the animation that's happening. So let's just say this starts, and this would start all together with the first animation that's going on, or the animation that runs just before this. So if I were to show you, this is how it looks now. I think it's pretty smooth. After the phases end, we want to show 0 for both the second and third digit. So what we want to do is we want to target the number 2 and also number 3, and we want to have the duration same as the speed, but this time the Y% would be -90, which is -90%. Let's save. First step, second step, and then 100. Let's refresh. Looks good. Now once it reaches 0, we just want to pull up the 1 that we have already hidden in our CSS. So after we have this, let's add this greater than sign So just after the previous animation ends, we want this to start, and then we'd want to target the number 1 and the duration same as the speed. And remember, we had it hidden with translate y to 100%. We just have the y to 0, and then we have it run along the previous animation, which is this. Let's save. See how smooth it is? Looks good. Once we show 100, we also want to hide these digits. So we're going to target number wrap, loading screen numbers. And what we want to do is we want to have the duration same as the speed. And this time we want to hide everything. So we're going to have the y% as negative 100%. Let's save. Let's go back. You see? And then we'd also want to hide this percentage. So to do that, we target the percentage, would have the duration speed, y to minus 100%. Let's save. Now we just want to sync it. So to sync that, I'd add this less than icon. Now it syncs well. Now we got to sync the percentage with the progress bar. So as you can see, we have the div with this progress bar class. Now in the CSS, what we have to do is first, let's give it some styling. So we're gonna have the progress bar have position absolute, top 0, left is 0, height of 6 pixels, width of 0, and a background color of yellow. Let's save. And now we want to have some animation to this. So what we want to do is initially, when this starts off, when the phase starts, we also want the progress bar to animate along with these numbers. So to do that, we'd have timeline and we'd target the progress bar. And what we want to do is the duration would be same as the speed, but this time instead of y%, we'd just increase the width. So initially it's 0, but as the phase go on, we want the width to increase. So for the phases, for the first phase, we have the digits here. So the second digit is this, and the third digit is this. So what we can do is we can just multiply the second digit with 10. So let's just say the second digit is 2 and the third digit is 5. So the entire number would be 25. So what we want to do is we want to multiply 10 with the second digit and then just add up the third digit, and we can just add the percentage icon, and that's going to give us the actual width percentage of the progress bar. Let's save. See? Now we just have to sync the progress bar with the animation. So for that, we just add this less than icon. Let's save. And now it syncs well. Now after it reaches 100%, we want this to take the entire screen. So for that, right outside, when this reaches this section, we want to do is we want to have the progress bar. The duration is going to be same as speed, width to 100%, and then also link up the animation with less than sign. Let's save. And now it takes the entire screen. All right. So the second step is after it takes the entire screen, we want this yellow to basically fill up the entire screen. Now this time we want to increase the height. So what we have to do is after the percentage vanishes along with the numbers, we're going to have the progress bar. This time the speed, we just decrease it a bit, and then we'd have the height to 100%. Let's save. See how cool is that? So we have the progress bar and then also the number animation done. Now we have to add the text animation. So for the text animation, we have two specific divs. So the first one is pre-welcome, which has 2 lines. And within the line, we have a p tag when we have the text. So the pre-welcome has 2 divs or 2 line divs with 2 p tags. And then there's another with the name of welcome with 2 lines. But then these lines have span with a bit of extra CSS. So the spans inside of the welcome have the font to be a bit bold and also the color as black. So this pre-welcome is basically the text that we want to show before the preloader takes the entire screen. And then after it takes the complete screen, we want to show the welcome text. So let's add the CSS for that. So here, we want to do is first add a z-index to the progress bar. Since the text or the welcome text would be on top of the progress bar, so the welcome would have a higher z-index. So this needs to have a lower one, so I've just set the z-index to 5. Now we target pre-welcome line and then also welcome line to have a fixed height. So the height would be 24 pixels, font size would be 20 pixels, and then margin block, basically top and bottom, would be 8 pixels, overflow to hidden, and then we target the welcome, and then the welcome line would have a color of not 100% black but 80%. Let's just save and let's see. So as you can see, this is how it looks. Now we want to basically position them. So what we want to do is the pre-welcome line would have the text hidden or basically underneath. So we'd have translate y to -100%. Let's just save, and if I were to refresh, you'd see that now the text is gone. And then for the welcome one, we'd want the text to be above. So we'd have, instead of negative, we'd have the translate y as 100%. If we save, now both of the texts are gone. Now we want them to be positioned somewhere here. So we target them and would have the position of absolute, top 45% and left 20%. Now with this, they're somewhere here. Now all we gotta do is we have to animate them. So here, when the first step ends or when the first step begins, we also want to show the first line coming in. So what we can do is we can target the line, so pre-welcome, and then the line that is the first, so the first line. So the way we get the first line is we target the end child, and then since the indexing starts with 0, so we'd have 0 plus 1, which is 1. So for the first line, we'd have the effect or the p tag to have this duration and the translate y to be 0. Now this would also work for the second one, but then initially when the first phase runs, so only the first line would trigger, and then in the second phase, the second line would trigger because of this end child property along with this index plus 1. Let's save, let's see. You see, it looks pretty neat. Now after it takes the entire screen, only then we want to show the welcome text. So for that, let's go beneath, and here, oh, okay, so here we also want to link up the animation. So we give this less than sign, and with that, they should be properly linked. Looks good. Now for the welcome text, we come here, we target the pre-welcome, speed to this, y to -100%. Let's save. So we also want to hide these as well. So before we bring the yellow thing to cover the entire screen. And then also we want to have the stagger effect, and we want to link them up. Let's save. Better. Now we target the welcome, we target the P, you have the duration, speed divided by 2, y to 0, stagger to 0.2, and then we just link it up with the previous animation of the progress bar taking the entire screen. So after that ends, we want to show the animation. So let's save. Let's see. All right, for some reason this is not getting shown. I think it's because of the z index. So here I think the welcome needs to have a higher z index. Let's save. Let's refresh. All right, looks good. There you have it, guys. Hope you liked the video. So this was kind of like a remake of the preloader of this amazing awards-winning website. Even though we don't have the image gallery animation, I think this was also a bit tough. So yeah, it was pretty fun building it. The source code is in the description, so make sure to download that, play with it. And yeah, I'll be bringing in more such cool projects in the future as well. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share it with your friends and family. We're really close to hitting 4,000 subscribers. So yeah, if you guys could share the channel and also comment down what you liked about this video, this would help the video get pushed to a wider range of people. So yeah, thanks for watching. Meet you guys in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.